Hello, and today we'll continue with the news update of Cleaved, Fraser's side story. Of the two, the fox was the first to wake up, the sound of the nearby stream being quite the pleasant alarm to wake him from his slumber. He quickly stands, walking over the pool to splash his face. The ice-cold water wakes him, fully leaving any residuals of slumber. He quickly stands, walking over the pool to splash his face. The ice-cold water wakes him, fully leaving behind any residuals of slumber. He quickly looks to the sky, seeing that the sun is just beginning to break through. Perfect. Knowing that he hasn't missed any time that could be dedicated to the day's portion of the journey filled him with a sparked confidence. The fox would then return to the sleeping area, giving his companion a nudge to wake him. The rodent is a little slow to wake up in comparison, but copying the fox's actions, he too uses the pull to wake him up fully. The two share a silent nod in recognition of the fact that although it is early, it's the optimal time for them to leave. They both spend a few short minutes packing up their gear before once again hitting the road, enjoying the sounds of nature in a comfortable silence. We nearly there yet? I certainly hope so, if the map is correct. We reach the top of a small hill, and from there I can peer my eyes towards the tail end of the forest, a strong flash of sunlight beckoning from just beyond the trees. That's an opening. The excitement. We're nearly there yet? I certainly hope so, if my map is correct. We reach the top of a small hill, and from there I can peer my eyes towards the tail end of the forest, a strong flash of sunlight beckoning from just beyond the trees. That's the opening. The excitement takes over. For the last leg of the journey, I conserve my energy for this exact moment, leaving Nero in the dust as I take off to see what lies before us. Bursting from the tree line, finally revealed to us that we had broken free from the forest, and before us was a coveted stretch of desert that finally led to a goal, and Lendrus finally being in sight. By the hells, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? The rat slowly emerges by my side, all the more joyous is to know our journey is nearly complete. You can say that again. I can't wait to get to the safe house. I'm done with sleeping on the ground. The sensation of the ground changing was the first thing to hit my mind. The once firm and soft forest plains. You can say that again. I can't wait to get to the safe house. I'm done with sleeping on the ground. The sensation of the ground changing was the first thing to hit my mind. The once firm and soft forest plains would now be substituted with an ever-shifting coarse substance. So, this is what science feels like. So, this is what sand feels like. You never experienced it before? No, I've only ever headed south if I was leaving Caledonia. Don't get things like this that way. Fair enough. Word to the wise then. Make sure you don't burn your paws on it. What do you... Oh. As if on cue, I happened to find a bit of sand that was in direct view of the sunlight. Without the natural buffer the sand offered, the sunlight was proving to be much harsher than I initially anticipated. The rodent chuckles, but suggests a notable Compromise would be for us to rush down to the lake and ride out as much of the journey as possible on the wet sand encircling it. I ignored his suggestion for a brief moment, instead rushing up to the sand, rushing up to the back to the I ignored his suggestion for a brief moment, instead rushing up to the bank of sand to get a lay on the land. How the hell is there a lake like this out here? Phrase, are you seriously about to have another scholar level breakdown about nature? Hey, it's warranted. Okay, well, I'm going to need I'm going to get a closer look. Okay, well, I'm going to get a closer look at the water. How about you check your dad's notes, huh? See if he wrote anything down, as to say. Okay, well, I'm going to get a closer look at the water. How about you check your dad's notes, huh? See if he wrote anything down, as to why. As he trails off, I nod slightly, slinging the pack down off of my shoulder once more, and retrieving the aforementioned notebook. Alendrous sand and its qualities. The outer walls, the Great Lake Teflon. The Great Lake Teflon is nothing short of a modern-day miracle. A study conducted on the sand from my previous chapters confirmed that the sand is unique to more local specimens. It is of such a high quality that the filtration rate of solubility allows for a unique effect to occur when interacting with the ocean. The study mentioned in my previous chapters confirms that it bears unique properties in comparison to other specimens. The grains have been grounded so finely over the years that they are themselves a nigh perfect filtration system, allowing for it to effectively purify the waters of the ocean. Last I checked, Alendra citizens use this as a natural water delivery system, pumping accumulated water from the pool into the city works. From conversations with the locals, I've been able to gather that there is a belief that a gracious God from long ago was responsible for making such a system. It gave its followers the resources they needed to make life of what their life of It gave its followers the resources they needed to make life out of what was barren and create the first conceptualization of what religions was supposed to be. Wow, Dad, you certainly did your homework. A few more paragraphs are left, explaining that the water is completely safe to consume as well as swim in, as the natural heat combined with the sand's filtration made it nigh impossible for anything harmful to leave a lasting effect. Well, I've got to give this a closer look. The excitement couldn't be contained as I neared the water, eager to cook my paw pads off. Ah, that's better. Told to do it sooner. What do you end up learning, Brainy? It's really interesting, so. I went on and explained what Dad wrote in his notes as best as possible. It's at least seemed interesting to me, though it was hard to get a read on, and Nero thought the same. Did that make sense? Yeah, totally. Perfect sense. So we can really drink this? Yep, swim in it too. Huh, weird. You learn anything else interesting in that book of yours? Honestly, there's tons of pages in here, and here's sure I could find all kinds of info. Anything that might help us out with the scouting. I was just thinking the same thing. I know we're confident with the rehearsed story and everything, but maybe getting an idea of the history might pay off with some of the locals. Find the page, book boy. I roll my eyes at the awful nickname, but take it as a sign to acquire the book and see what can be found. Long ago, in the era has now long past, a group of settlers chose to leave their homeland and left to wander the wasteland. In their search for a place to form a settlement, the wanderers found the Great Lake of Tefn, a creation that would satisfy their needs of their growing populace and become the birthplace for the great nation that we now know as Elendris. However, before the nation became what it is today, there was a time in history where Elendris was drastically different. It was once known as the City of Sin, Karnasax. Sometime after the first wanderers began to build a city, and the descendant of the tribe's first leader had his chance to rule. His name was Arobus. As a child, he was spoiled, believing that because he was the son of one of the greatest leaders in the nation's history, the talent to do so would be in his familial tree. Though, from the history that has survived, it is apparent that the legends are certainly lacking in comparison to what he would have you believe. Arobus was something of a warrior, talented at combat but scorned by a fire that drove him to seek the world into submission. It started with his subjects, those who pledged their undying loyalty to him and had the strength to back up their promises, were given the best life he could offer. They were made his generals, his enforcers, his maidens. There was truly no hesitation in what he would offer someone if it furthered the legend he was building for himself. If history had gone in his favor, there is no doubt he would be remembered by his initial title, King Arobus the Demonic. But as you're probably able to surmise from the current state of the world, a different legend remained in its place. The initial creation in the lifestyle of the wanderers was not one of war and conquest, it was one of peace and creativity. Their initial reason for leaving their old life behind was to form a society that would reward these beliefs and values. As such, those who remained loyal to the initial way of life held a strong disdain for the enforced monarchy placed on them by Arobus. Now, despite the beliefs enforced on the people by the ravenous king, there was one belief he shared: the creation of unique objects and buildings within his kingdom. Arobus' belief was that the more glamorous his city would be in comparison to the kingdoms around him, the more his reputation would grow, therefore more proof that he was truly as great as he believed he was. This would lead to the rise of other prominent figures that would be remembered in the history books, including the beloved scholar Elendris. Wait, so there was a guy named Elendris too? According to that notes, yeah, there was. Oh great, now that's not going to get confusing. Hang on, there's more. Of all the other initial figures of prominence within a city, Elendris was certainly remembered with the most love and benevolence. While others sought power or wealth, he sought knowledge and community. He, along with his closest acolytes, founded the Great Library, a hall of knowledge that was so vast it claimed to be able to see every practitioner of study, a home for knowledge to excel and for all things to be documented and shared among all people so that everyone could learn the world in their own time. Once it was completed, it became a second home for many. People of all ages took interest in residency within the halls. Within the halls, Elendris offering his house open to all, knowing the state of the kingdom during those trying times of Arobus' rule. For a time, things were peaceful within this house of knowledge. However, a few of the well-informed knew of the impending storm approaching their walls. In his, For a time, things were peaceful within this house of knowledge. However, a few of the well-informed knew of the impending storm approaching their walls. In his continued conquest for land and power, Arobus declared war on the kingdom of lions. Oh shit, really? Damn. He must have been incredibly ballsy or an absolute idiot. Honestly, can't even begin to imagine it like the Wolves have a chance of doing that today because of their numbers and advancements in recent years, but trying to take on a civilization of that caliber? Nuts. While it is reasonable to assume the Kingdom of Lions is substantially more established than it was back then, it's important to note that the securing of their allies was the definitive factor for winning their prior conflicts. By this time, Arobus had never known defeat in the conquest he had sought after, and that overconfidence would ultimately be his undoing. He had done no reconnaissance or scouting. He just knew from his cartographers that the nearest kingdom to him happened to be theirs, and that they had recently been wounded by a skirmish with the tigers. Ultimately, that battle with the tigers was won by the lions, and while it was true they had been struck, Arobus and his compatriots were nowhere near the same level of standing or power of their adversaries. The months after this announcement were grueling, but Arobus, blind to his incompetence, remained in the city. He was confident with his decision to send out his legions with the promise that they could help themselves to whatever they wanted once they had ensured the captive of the enemy kingdom. It was only when the Lion's Own Legion marched across the sandy plains heading to the capital did he realize his mistake. While the war had been raging on, Elendris had once again opened the doors to the library, allowing anyone to come in and seek refuge from the ensuing attack. From here, we are told the story of how Carnasax fell and Elendris rose from its ashes. The invading army was sectioned into different groups to capture different territories within the area. One half marched straight for the castle, intent on killing the leader of the would-be invaders, believing this would be the best option to stop any morale or hope of keeping up with the practices preached by the would-be king. But as they arrived, there would be little resistance, and the fortunate few souls would lose their life that night. After all, the years of brainwashing from the dogma spewed by Arobus was simply too embedded in them. Ultimately, they passed with the belief that they did everything they could for the leader who gave them a dream. However, the same could not be said for Arobus himself. When he was cornered by the invading forces, there was no dignity about him. The king, who thought he was a god, was left disarmed, his pride scarred, and left in state a fluctuation between crying at the unfairness of it all and raging out at the world. Ultimately, the once proud king was reduced to nothing but a wild mutt, and as such, the decision was made that it would be best to put him out of his misery so no other civilization may never incur his wrath. The other half of the army would then go to the largest building in the district, that being the Grand Library. Before any action could be taken, the cowering citizens inside began to pray, beg, and do anything within their power to find a way out of the current situation. But with no fear nor trepidation in his footing, Elendris emerged from the crowd and exited through the main door, laying himself bare in front of the cohort of soldiers. At the front of the army was their general, surprised that only one individual would step out to face them. He had no weapons, no grand plan, nor did he have any subjects to carry to carry out his bidding. But he did have courage, he said. Soldiers, what stands before you is my home, the vision of a people that have long since passed. My home's foundation is knowledge, a home where someone can learn all the necessary skills to provide value for themselves and to those they care about. A home where someone can learn of all medicines of the world and become a healer. A home where the techniques of old weavers are passed on to new seamstresses. A home simple enough to offer someone the skills to make bread. It can be broken and served with all. In my home, you will currently find younglings and babes too young to have brought any wrong to the world, yet terrified that they have done something to incur violence towards them. You will find young adolescents who are doing their all to help people that were caught in the crossfire or secure the younger ones in the safest place possible. You will find young adolescents who are doing their all to help people that were caught in the crossfire or secure the younger ones in the safest place possible. You will find mothers and fathers who are desperate to help the young in their community. You will even find the elderly who blame themselves for allowing situations that they have no control over to affect the people that are coming after them. But what you will also find that is common amongst all of them is that they disagree with the actions of their supposed king. They have no power to disagree, or they would face the same fate that you could possibly impose on them now. But what they have done is seek refuge in hopes that all of you have the understanding to know that these are people that seek peace, that seek the same help that I wish to offer to all who find themselves within the walls of this community. So I do beseech you, brave warriors, finish your business with the wrongdoer who has incurred your wrath, but spare the innocent that bear no weight on the actions taken by a mad king. From there onward, it is said that the general would give a simple nod commending the man for his speech. The then king would later regroup with his soldiers to hear of Valendra's actions, who ultimately could find no fault in them and agreed to accept the offer of peace he had extended. The lions would then return home to their own kingdom, leaving Carnisax to rebuild. In the coming years that followed, it was decided that a new leader would need to be named to go about and bringing the citizens in their desired directions. For his actions and good deeds, the city would nominate none other than Elendris. He accepted but gave the people the caveat that he was not to be seen as a king. He was to be seen as a person who could be relied upon and whose full goal was to look out for the well-being of all citizens that would call their kingdom home. To which they agreed. From there, decades passed. The kingdom would then go about securing peace treaty after peace treaty, becoming a neutral zone in the political climate of the world. A place that offered no hatred to either side, but a place that could be seen as a bridge between them, eager to never fall back upon their ways of domination from a bygone time. Though it was around the same time the tragedy would strike. The decades had caught up with Elendris, the cruel effect of time taking him from his people. And while the kingdom may have mourned, he was not sad, as he knew that in his lifetime he had given them all the tools they would ever need to succeed and continue their prosperous ways. Sometimes after his funeral, the council he had assembled over years of dedication to the kingdom agreed that as a way of honoring him, the city of Sand would adopt a new name, the city of Elendris. In local history, these stories are remembered as Oroba's folly and the rise of Elendris, respectively. Damn. Alright. So the city is named after a local hero. I'm honestly surprised you weren't aware. Believe me, any involvement I have with cities outside of our harbor, well, outside our border, is not spent on reading history books, personal follower of the three B's for a job. Oh, yeah, a good Bev. I found a bitch and a bag of corns for a job well done. The rat mockingly counts to three with his digits before bursting out in laughter. I join him, but part of me can't tell if he's being serious. You're impossible. He say that, but I reckon if I changed bitch to bastard, you'd be more on board. I roll my eyes. Huh. To get back on topic, it's good to know the type of values they have there should make blending in a hell of a lot easier. By the sounds of it, we're going to be mixing with all kinds of royals, scholars, and parsers. Hey, it's easy enough. Elaborate. Just be a bit of a set. Try and dress like those around you and occasionally drop an indeed here and there. Don't know how well the clothing front will go. Bah, don't worry about it. If you're at least doing it in theme with the nobles of your home, you're in the golden. Besides, if things take a turn for the worse, I'll handle it. Nice on. Good lad. Now get us past those guards. Now that I can do. Part way into building our cover story, Nero had informed me that the guards who were responsible for watching the outer walls of the city weren't actually loyal to the council. They're a private security network that was founded by an Elendrian bigwig. He had no interest in the council itself, but saw a gap in the market to help those that aren't as academically inclined or interested. For those with a preferred interest in things like combat and manual labor, the SEAL was formed. An organization designed to train the future protectors of the city. In exchange for access, it reduces costs to things like facilities, accommodations, and sustenance. In truth, it didn't seem like that bad of a trade-off until Nero went on to explain the double standards. The original creator of the SEAL uses this checkpoint system to grow ties with the dark underbelly of society. Meaning that, in exchange for gold and silver, or the occasional piece of contraband that he simply could not go without, he will accept things like bribery through selected members. As such, Nero knew exactly who to look for, and one conversation later, along with a quick shuffling of coin, we made our way through the city gates. I honestly forgot how simple things like that can be. Yeah, well, it certainly pays to have a clean slate. In truth, both the people of the city and the guards are extremely relaxed about these kinds of things, so long as whatever business you are conducting doesn't cause public upset. You don't really have much to worry about, or so I'm told. For our sake, I hope so too. Indeed. Did I use that right? Impressive. I simply nod, smug at his attempts to sound like the supposed scholars were due to me. So, where are we headed? This way. Keep your eye peeled for this Sergil. He sows me a quick doodle on a page of a simple crescent dagger. It's a little symbol we've got in use nowadays, used to mark facilities that are in use of the cost. Right. Good to know. Let's get moving. As we traverse the streets, we find insignia after insignia of the guild brand, eventually finding our way to an open square of two-story homes with vibrant colors, modest balconies, and thus vegetation. Damn, that guild of yours really went all out on finding a safe house. Yep, the class system isn't apparent when it comes to housing here, so it doesn't really tend to cause much suspicion to set an off-site owner to maintain the bills for one of these homes. As such, the guild opted to be a bit more frugal with their spending and get something nicer. Not that I hear you complaining. Not at all. It's just a bit of a shame we're not gonna have much time to use it. Don't stress it. We'll make sure our business is done here with plenty of discretion, so no one will bat an eye when we come back here for a little vacation. Sound good? Sounds great, actually. Perfect. Now, let's get inside. The rodent steps in front of me, retrieving a key from a false stone in the outer wall of the building, then proceeds to open the front door, allowing us to step inside. The interior of the home was minimally furnished, but this was a clear intentional decision by the various occupants, done up just enough to look cozy and lived in, but not extravagant enough to warrant the curious sort to break in to explore. As soon as we step inside, we immediately discard our weaponry, leaving behind anything that would risk poking some holes in our story. Heading upstairs, we get a chance to see our sleeping quarters, taking a moment to sort out clothing appropriately and pick an outfit that would put our best foot forward. So, you remember the plan? We're students from Vernews, friends by circumstance after I was sent to live in the city with my aunt after the village I'm initially from was deemed unsafe by my ever so loving parents. We're students from Vernews, friends by circumstance after I was sent to live in the city with my aunt after the village I'm initially from was deemed unsafe by my ever so loving parents. Though despite their best efforts, Vernews is a tad behind other kingdoms in the standard of education one can pursue. Having both realized this, we agreed to set out for the education capital of the world, hoping to get accustomed to the city life and get a full spectacle of what the system of education has to offer us. Obviously, thanks to my dad's background of study, we're somewhat well-versed enough to hold a conversation with these types, but the ultimate goal is to get a lay of the land, find the other half of the journal, and skip town before anyone is aware of our thievery. Perfect. Still trying to think how we're going to find this place, though. Have you had a look out the window? You're kidding. Dead serious. I do as he suggests, and my eyes immediately lock with a gargantuan structure off in the distance easily large enough to house a whole village. No wonder Elendris was able to shelter everyone. That's insane. I looked back to Nero, laying down on his stomach on the bed, flicking through a set of pages. According to his notes, we don't have to be as intimidated by the size as you might think. If the layout is still somewhat similar to that, or to what Grimm's written down, most of the upper halls are purely for classrooms on an on-site accommodation for students. Or purely of or. So by that logic, we should be able to cut off a significant portion of our scouting work and primarily stick to the wings that would have educational sources. What? Nothing. It's just really surprising watching you get all smart and tactical, seemingly out of nowhere. Oh, piss off. We're actually on the job now, so you get my expertise where applicable. He shoots me a smirk as I just stand there, somewhat surprised, but appreciative of his attitude nonetheless. Now, help me pick out an outfit. The two of us opt to strip down to our undergarments and filter through what clothing we have to see what would look most appropriate for the setting, as well as be practical given the environment. For the rat, he chooses to leave behind his cloak, tying his trousers up into a three-quarter finis, and opting to look around the room for any garment left from previous visitors. He settles on a piece of blue and yellow cloth, tying it around his waist and to form a type of hanging band. A common fashion statement of Venus. As for myself, I have a lot of armor to shed, taking off my cloak, bracers, and belt, leaving myself in quartered trousers and my green overshirt. Though opting to give it some flair, I rolled the sleeves up ever so slightly, securing both my necklace and a silver ring on my paw, sparking some contrast against my brightly colored fur. To complete the look, I saddled Nero with a bag draped over his shoulder, adding a notebook and a pouch of coins into it before turning back to an assortment of things left behind by previous occupants, this time finding a pair of glasses in a waist holster. I donned them all, the glasses fitting surprisingly well on my muzzle. However, the ensuing worry of wearing UN prescribed glasses was quickly squashed as I realized the lenses were just made of standard use glass. I guess someone just used these as part of a costume. The final decision from my outfit was to secure my own sack of coins on the holster. The final decision for my outfit was to secure my own sack of coins on the holster and grab the other free book that Grim had sent along with us. Right, I've studied enough fashion tracks to know that we should certainly look the part, and if we don't, I will be majorly surprised. For both our sakes, I hope you're right about that. Honestly, I feel so odd dressed up like this. Just grit your teeth and bear it, Nero. Noir. You can stick with Fraser because you're part of the book story. Well, your part of the backstory is that you're not from here. Is that you're not from there. Nero doesn't sound like a very true Venusian name, so I figured just use what my name would be if I was from there. Honestly, I'm proud of how on point you are today, Noir. Aye. Now, let's get a move on, yeah? After you. And from there, we hit the street, seeing the hustle and bustle of Alendra's firsthand. For as far as my eyes could see, the streets were decorated with market stall after market stall. While it was seemingly similar back home, there was a much brighter aura around these shops, large colorful drapes, vibrant fruits, and even corner stalls dedicated to the sale of books. Something like this would never be found in Caledonia. Wow. It's amazing, ain't it? I'll say. You know, we haven't had lunch yet. If the mission can spare us half an hour, I'm down to do some exploring and get a bite to eat. Might do us some good to be well fed and get a scene for the local culture. Before I can even come up with a response, my body betrays me by letting out an audible groan of hunger. Please, you had me at food. Kinda forgot how hungry I was. As we exit the strip of shops, a waft of flavor hits my nose, and I immediately turn down to face a new alleyway, one dedicated to what must have been a good few restaurants, cafes, and bakeries. Gods, that smells delicious. We take a stroll down the avenue where a bunch of places had appealed to us. But while a bunch of places had appealed to us, we're still in. Well, we take a stroll down the avenue while a bunch of shops. We take a stroll down the avenue while a bunch of places had appealed to us. we're still unsure of the ideal place to stop. Needing there, strangers, hello. Oh, hello. As my eyes are drawn to see just who the woman could be talking to, I'm a slight bit drawn back to see she was some type of cat. I've heard that not all species live in the lion's kingdom, but still, it's just felt a bit strange being as old as I am and still not having seen a single member of the feline family. You're certainly looking lost and hungry there. We can certainly remedy that, yeah? Table for two? Please, come with me. Well, that makes things simpler. She proceeds to lead us to a humbly furnished interior, a lot of groups taking up a relative closeness on the bench style seating. It looks lovely, but I can't help but be a bit on guard as soon as I notice the chatter goes down. The diners seem to lock their eyes onto us, stopping only as the feline continues to lead us to our seats. Here we like to focus on feeding the community, and that includes our guests and visitors. Though please don't feel put off if the patrons are a bit scary. It's very rare we get visitors, so I'm sure they're just curious. But here's a menu for you to use. My name is Aya. So when you know what you like, just to give me a shout. I'll be right over. Thank you. We appreciate it. Don't miss it. Before leaving, she sets down some glasses and a jug of water, perfect for our parched throats. Looking at the menu, we see a variety of options of what to get. I personally opting for something rather hearty. I look at what meats are available. A mixed grilled bread, kofta, and kebabs immediately caught my eye, and I could feel my stomach rumbling begin to grow even louder. Why, well, I know what I want. How about you? Just gonna grab that cheese and meat omelet they have. I'm eyeing it up on that table over there, and it looks stunning. Huh. What? Nothing, just something funny about a rat ordering cheese. Fuck off. We share a slight chuckle before we decide to put the order in. Nero, wanting to use the restroom, offers to get up himself and order it through before doing so. Nice one. Oh, ask them if we pay up front as well. I'll pay you my share after if you cover the tab. Damn, mocking my order, and now you want me to pay the tab? You really are pussing. As the warden rose from his chair, he did a quick spin to begin walking over, absent-mindedly stumbling right into someone that was in the walkway. I get a chance to look up at the person he's bumped into. Oh my. Standing before us is a snake. All I've ever heard about them is from an encounter Nero had with one when he was younger, though this one is certainly big, easily having a couple of feet on me. His onyx scales are highlighted with an eye-catching golden color, particularly around the chest area. The striped color, or the striped pattern, looks extremely unique with the more uniform pattern of colors that I'm used to. Oh, it's alright. He's voicing at me from my thoughts and before I could understand his skepticism, I felt a paw touch my back. My eye flashes back for a moment and I see Nero standing firmly behind me, terrified. Oh, fuck me, I forgot. He's terrified of snakes. Thinking on my feet, I quickly step in, locking my eyes with the snake before beginning to speak. Apologies for my friend here. He's awful shy when he feels like he's embarrassed himself. Oh, it's quite alright. There was no harm, so there's no need for concern. Well, I'm glad to hear. I feel a grip on my shoulder. Loosen the rodent under the impression that the snake will slowly leave now that the conversation seems to be over. Actually, if it is an inconvenience, I'm wondering if I could ask you for a favor. I suppose that's alright. What can I do for you? I'm in a bit of a rush, and the wait time is gonna be a while before I can get seated and fed. Is there any chance I can join you to remedy that? I'm happy to cover your meal, if that deal is acceptable to you. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, by all means. It was truly a blessing from the gods that the rat didn't have a knife in his hands, as I generally think he would have taken out, as I generally think he would have taken me out then and there if his grip was anything to go off of. Thank you both, I appreciate it. As he steps closer and pulls out the chair, I notice that he opts to take the closest one to mine. In truth, it was probably for the best given the rat's reaction. You wanted the mixed grill and the omelet for you. Yes, we did. How did you know? Embarrassingly, I happened to be wandering over, and your fur caught my eye. I didn't quite realize how close. I stopped and just happened to overhear it. Oh well, I'm glad to hear my fur is enjoyable here. Indeed, it's not common we get foxes so vibrant here. You say that like you get regular foxes here. Perhaps not the ones you're thinking of. The local ones are more so built for the desert, skinny, shorter fur, and large ears for shade. I've been told they're called phoenix. Huh. I'll have to keep an eye out. Didn't notice that. Interesting. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The snake calls over to the same woman from earlier, and she happily strolls over. I notice his tone drops a slight bit, and he whispers over to her ear. My ear twitches, able to make out every other word, ensuring he's just putting our order in. I then flash my eye to see Nero, who seems to be calming down, when the initial stalker sets a large snake seemingly appearing out of nowhere. I turn back in time to see the waitress give a simple nod before turning to the kitchen. The snake now locking eyes with me once more. Bah, my manners. I haven't even asked for your name yet. That's quite all right. I'm Fraser. This next to me is my friend Noir. I'm Hager. It's a pleasure. He outreaches his hand and wanted to be polite. I do the same, shaking on it. His grip was certainly something special. No doubt about it. This guy was pure muscle. Now, he now looks over to Nero, humbly waving as he can still pick up on the slight sock from him. I hope I didn't rattle you too harshly, small one. These muscles tend to make people think I'm part of the Watts, but I argue I'm the furthest thing from. You trying to tell us that that's all natural, as in you don't train at all? Not unless you count the library. The snake lets out a hearty laugh. I can tell there's no falsehood in his statement. I quickly join to ensure there's no awkwardness, but the thought can't help but remain in my head. Must have a good lineage then. Do you go to the library often? Yes, almost every other day. It's why I asked to join you. I would have been running late to a class if I left it any longer. Oh, you're a student? Indeed. Before the snake could elaborate any further, the same ranger strolls over with our respective orders, setting them down before spinning away. Ah, perfect timing. He daintily picks up a fork and stabs at some kind of sliced meat, carefully placing it into his mouth before letting out a tasteful moan. Ooh, so good. He swallows before turning to me, and I, in turn, follow the same action, grabbing my kebab by the skewer and placing it over to my muzzle. And it's amazing. It takes a second for the full effect of the spices to kick in, but soon as it does, a tasteful mix of sweet and spicy lamb was plastered over my taste buds, something I haven't had for years. Fuck, that's good. I quickly cover my muzzle with my free paw, a little embarrassed that I let it slip so openly, but the snake only laughs in response. It's good, yeah. That's the reaction for a lot of people who haven't had Elendra's cuisine. It's some of the best lamb I've had, so I can't say I'm surprised by that. Truly, this is one of my favorite restaurants in the whole city. You simply can't beat their meals. How's yours? I look over to the rat who's nearly devoured his omelet. It's delicious. Couldn't ask for better. It took me a second, but I noticed that he'd switched his accent, adopting a more Venusian tone. It was good enough that if you didn't know him personally, you wouldn't assume otherwise. Oh, I like your accent. Are you from Venus? We both are. I'm not originally, but we both are. I'm not originally, but I moved to stay with family. Noir, however, was born and raised there. It's his first time from home, so he's just a little on edge with everything. I see. I asked what brings you both here then. We're looking to enroll at the university. We think we've learned just about everything we can from back home, and we've heard nothing but great things from the university. I see that I'm sad with the others in pursuit of knowledge. I really did pick the right table to join. I joke, but in all seriousness, I'm elated to hear that. Perhaps I could, well, oh God's the time. In a matter of seconds, the snake unhinges his jaw and proceeds to scarf down the last of his food before standing. I need to go. Meal's paid for. Leave whenever you're ready. He pauses for a moment, steadying himself. If you're headed there now, might I recommend taking the lane to the right of the restaurant? You'll miss all the foot traffic and I'll get there a lot faster. Until we meet again, my friends. And with that, we left. The two of us finished shortly after and waved goodbye to our waitress and proceeded to head to the alley he mentioned, both of us in silence. Did you see the way he unhinged his jaw? Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, I did. That was insane. That was terrifying. Honestly, I'll never know why more people aren't afraid of snakes. But on the bright side, we probably won't see them for the rest of our trip here. I mean, there's gotta be, probably over 1,000 students at this campus. For both our sakes, I hope so. With the rat now settled, we continued the directions heading down a long strip of paved pathway and even walking over the high-rise bridges, getting a chance to see the market squares with a bird's eye view. They really weren't joking when they said how business place can be. You tell me. It's just through here. As we approach the end of the alleyway, the building finally comes into view. We circle around, getting a chance to see the wide open gardens and their decorative flower arrangements that surround the entire campus. Towards the entrance was a large fountain, many students taking a western position on or against it. Looking around, we could see what must have been hundreds of people walking between the lecture halls and rooms. There seemed to be an even divide amongst the students. Some of them had hours to go for books and quills for a more formal and personal field of study, whereas the other half seemed to have had a type of screen. They were certainly similar to the ones back home, but these ones were more compact and a lot more portable than what I was used to seeing. Though before I had too much time to ponder on these devices, the sound of a voice calls out to me, breaking me from my thoughts. At first I looked in an attempt to find where the voice is coming from, but I can't see anyone in view. It's then I realized the voice is coming from below me, and as I looked down, I locked eyes with a small male, one with predominant fox-like features. This guy must be that other kind of fox he told me about. Oh, excuse my manners. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. In his paw, I notice he has one of those portable screens tapping on it before looking back at the both of us. My name is Bess, and I'm one of the public service members for the university. Forgive me for stating the obvious, but you two aren't from here, so is it possible for me to take a name and the statement as to why you're here? Despite his small stature, he carries himself with strong confidence, one that is clear that he is not interested in being messed around. I'm Fraser, and the gentleman next to me is my friend and colleague, Nora. We're visiting the city for a week, and we're hoping to apply for enrollment here during the next cycle. We were informed that this facility held open days for the public. We were hoping to catch it at the right time so we could have an opportunity to see the full glamour of the university in all its glory. Bess takes a minute, but nods seemingly signing something on the screen. Okay, and perfect. Do either of you have a portable screen? Unfortunately not. We opted to pack a little bit later given the climate and how long our journey was. I see. That's smart. But I would definitely recommend getting one so you become enrolled here. During his pauses, he pulled out a satchel from his side and began to dig through it, pulling out some kind of paper. You timed your trip pretty well as you've come here on the final week of the guided tours. This right here is an actual map of the university campus grounds as well as directions to the Elender's library. If you follow it and head there immediately, you should be able to catch the group who are currently waiting for a tour. Thank you so much. Not a problem, although if you prefer the option for a private tour, come find me later. I can show all the spots we Phoenix like to use. Immediately a slight blush creeps across my face as he hands me the map, ending the conversation with a slight wink before walking away. Madam, you're two for Notre Dame. Okay, that was not intentional. I can tell. You have any idea how hard it is to make you, of all people, blush? Look, it was probably just a fox thing, like a birds of a feather type of deal. Sure, we'll just add it to the list of people we might be able to exploit tactics-wise. Don't be mean. Alright, let's get a move on. I roll my eyes to sift them to look at the map, finding the correct directions. The path has us cut across the courtyard, giving us the opportunity to see the beauty of the flower garden the university has so carefully tended to. For as far as I could see, there was nothing but rows upon rows of vibrant colors of fauna that I've never seen before. Oh, these are pretty. I didn't know you were much of a flower fan, pal. I don't think a lot of people are, but I tend to find everyone has a favorite once they get involved with it. Yeah, humor me then. Which one is your favorite? Oh wait, let me guess. It's either something no one's heard of or it's the most stereotypical cliche I can imagine. Oh, how you wounded me with your generalizations. Of course it's the latter. I like roses, black ones to be specific. You have a real flair for the dramatics. You know that? I'm more than aware. In here, I was thinking it was something more noticeable, like lavender or something. Huh. No, not on me, my friend. A lovely smell indeed, but better suited for someone else. From the gardens we hit an open path on the promenade, having a chance to see some of the decorative sides to the area. Specifically, we find ourselves in a lavish hallway, the walls of it decorated with portraits, each person posing for the painter wears that same stuck-up expression. If I had to take a guess, there were probably professors here at some point.